and proud to have this program put together for you this afternoon. You know that there will be a raffle. What's a raffle without the research? You know, the research without the raffle. I also want you to know that we have a conference call that comes on every Saturday. And the number is 978-990-5000. It rings one time, and the access code is 338729. Press the pound key. You'll hear us talking, and we'll look forward to you talking with us and sharing your information. Yes, Kefentse available. All right. Kefentse is on his way up. Okay.
I sometimes thought it'd be like a picture with a microphone, but I won't run off.
Imani.
Come on, y'all can do better than that. Imani. This is the historic King Solomon Church, where Malcolm X made two very important speeches.
Imani.
Even more so than that, this is Detroit. So y'all making me feel like I'm in Detroit. Kind of feel like Dearborn.
Imani.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here to celebrate the 56th anniversary of Kwanzaa. That's worthy of some applause right there. My name is Kefentse Chike, and I'd like to thank Mama Theo Brothers for asking me to come. I will have had the pleasure to pour libations at the opening Kwanzaa ceremony, which was on the 26th. And as we find ourselves concluding Kwanzaa, the 56th Kwanzaa, the last day, of course, starts on the first day of the year, which gives us a perfect place or platform to launch our new year. And for me, Imani, is that the principle for today? So we can start our year with a very powerful, spirit-filled Imani to take us through the next 360, how many days is it in a year? 64. I was just checking to see if y'all was paying. I am a teacher sometimes, so I may ask you questions as we go. Anyhow, I've been asked to pour libations. Who's celebrating Kwanzaa for the first time? Nobody? So I'm preaching to the choir. Anyhow, we pour libations. African people know that the realest part of who we are is our spirit, our energy. Most of us were exposed to the Judeo-Christian ethic. Yes, no, we either grew up Christian, Muslim, and some of us may have even grown up Jewish. Where am I going with this? In the creation story, which I remember, and y'all remember Vacation Bible School?
Yeah.
And Sunday school? Oh no, this ain't Black Detroit. So in the creation story, when God fashioned the first human being, what was the first human being made out of? Y'all gotta say it with power and authority. What was that first human being made out of? And what was it that animated that clay? The breath of God, the breath of life, spirit. So for me, that means that the core of each and every one of our existence is a part of what we know as God. Yes, no, or maybe so. And when we put this body down, or we're informed that it's time to put it down, that God part of us never ceases to exist. It doesn't. And what African people have always known is that energy is still available and still very real. So for African people, our ancestors are very much a part of our families and our communities. So we pour libations. I have a calabash and a glass of water, and that's symbolic because if we were on the continent in a traditional setting, we would have water or spirits and pour a drink. to the earth, say the name of an ancestor. We literally invited them to come be a part of this. So we say we're memorializing them, remembering them, and honoring them, but we're also venerating that spirit and energy. We borrow from their kind tradition, so when I say the name of an ancestor, like Malcolm X, the response will be inside. Can you say inside? And inside in tree, which is spoken in Ghana, West Africa, means to drink. So if I say Marcus Garvey, you'll say inside. I gotta say it with conviction. It's not a sprint PCS to PCS call. We call it much deeper than that, right? Did y'all go to church today? Well, come on, we want to see some. Give us some of that spirit that y'all got in service this morning. Okay, I think I'll move this down here.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I'm just doing a libation. So I'm not sure. I hopefully y'all got somebody else to do libate the candles. Do you? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is like the before that part. So anyhow, as I say the name of an ancestor, the collective response again will be inside. I know some of y'all like, I don't know about that African. That sounds like the African boogie stuff. And yes, we're in church. And if anybody is uncomfortable, somebody may be like, oh, I have to go to work tomorrow. I may still have some of that on me. I don't want them to know. Any reluctance, we want you to be African for the next 2.5 hours. Can we do that? And when you see how good it feels, just keep doing it. So, in keeping with the tradition or belief of all African people, because all African people believe there's only one God. And God is revealed to all, known by many names, but only one. We always acknowledge Almighty God first. But we don't say inside because God is so vast. We simply say, yo, to affirm the vastness and power of Almighty God. To Almighty God, we say, yo. The Akan believe that on earth, can you say Nana Asasiya? Nana Asasiya is the provider of all our physical needs. As God provides everything, all of our spiritual needs, Nana Asasiya provides, facilitates being able to meet all our physical needs. Medicine, food, clothing, and shelter, we all derive from Mother Earth. To Nana Asasiya, we say inside. To the oldest known human ancestor, who just so happened to be a woman. Yes. And also just so happened to be an African, who we know as Mother Dinknish, who to Mother Dinknish, the mitochondrial DNA mother of all human beings, not just black folks, all human beings. To Mother Dinknish, we say inside. To the fathers and sustainers of the earliest human civilizations that emerged, the oldest emerged in the Nile Valley. These include, can you say Kemet, Egypt, Axum, Kush, Ethiopia, Punt. To the fathers and sustainers of the classical East African civilizations, we say inside. There was also a succession. Now, I'm saying the name of what we call classical civilizations because they were the standard then. They were the highest form of civilization at the time. So the West African civilizations, which emerged in what was called the Golden Age of West Africa, would span from 300 AD to 1600 AD. And this included 3 major civilizations. They included Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. To the founders and sustainers of the classical West African civilizations of the Golden Age of West Africa, we say inside. Historical period is particularly important because the education that we are given have been given time and time again, including the idea that Africans that were captured and brought to the United States and other places had no culture, had no civilization, had no soul, were savages. Now, why it's important, and you look like an astute group of people, what was happening in Western Europe during that same period between 300 AD and 1500? The Dark Ages. So they emerged from their dark period, were able to capture our ancestors and create a whole epistemology, a body of knowledge that negated our whole existence. So it's an important part of our re-Africanization process. Europe emerged from this dark period, and there were two major events to help them proliferate. That was Columbus voyages, which began in 1492, and the transatlantic slave trade, which led to the displacement of African people throughout what we now call the African diaspora. So those places that we like to go and play and have fun, Cuba, Haiti, Suriname, Belize, Jamaica, all those places where we see people that look like us, they are definitely our relatives, and we are survivors of the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage was a part of the journey where our ancestors were put onto ships, captured and put onto ships, and taken to these places throughout the African diaspora. We are all the survivors. There were literally hundreds of thousands, millions that did not survive that journey. They were packed on the ship sometimes for as long as 3 months. And many of them died due to sickness, some died in rebellion, some were simply thrown over because they were deemed to not be healthy. We will never know those Africans that were lost during the Middle Passage, but as a part of our Sankofa re-Africanization process, we always acknowledge our ancestors that were lost during the Middle Passage. For our African ancestors that died in the Middle Passage, we say, okay, y'all gotta get the rhythm a little better. I know it's a long time since we were home, no? I'm not talking about Mackie Bewick or down in the Delta. I'm talking about all the way back home. Contrary to popular belief, our ancestors have fought from the first captured African to those of us that are fighting today, including people like Mama Theo Grover, Mama Neb House, Mama Tahira, and many members of the Black Legacy Coalition that made this event possible. So there have been many to the Toussaint L'Ouverture, we say inside. Jacques Dessalines, we say inside. Harriet Tubman, we say. Sojourner Truth, we say inside. Nat Turner, we say inside. Jim Martin Vesey, we say inside. Gabriel Prosper, we say inside. Ida B. Wells, we say inside. Anna Julia Cooper, we say inside. Frederick Douglass, we say inside. Monroe Trotter, we say inside. W.E.B. Du Bois, we say inside. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, we say inside. Amy Jake Garvey, we say inside. Amy Ashwood Garvey, we say inside. Elijah Muhammad, we say inside. Clara Muhammad, we say inside. Malcolm X, we say inside. Betty Shabazz, we say inside. Dr. Martin Luther King, we say inside. Coretta Scott King, we say inside. Coleman Alexander Young, we say inside. Irma Henderson, we say inside. Jeramogi Abege Ajima, we say inside. Richard Henry, we say inside. Milton Henry, we say inside. Grace Boggs, we say inside. Mama Imani Humphrey, we say inside. Mama Anna Moy Hill, we say inside. Mama Easter Reddy, we say inside. Mama Aisha Collier, we say inside. King Sundiata King, we say inside. Baba Kalindi Eve, we say inside. Mama Jandai Eve, we say inside. I've called on the names of ancestors that we share as a global African people. I've also called on the name of ancestors that we share as a local African village called Detroit. And I always tell people that Detroit is the blackest place on the planet. And I don't just mean in color and culture. This is one of the most politically radicalized people of black people that I've ever seen. So let's give ourselves a round of applause. So we share ancestors, but we each also have our family ancestors, both our mothers' ancestors and our fathers' ancestors. And not just in a esoteric, spiritual kind of way, in a very scientific way. We carry the genes with both our mother's side and our father's side, going all the way back to Mother English. And even though we don't know all of our family ancestors, we all have a big mama, a Papa Jim, the Italian bottom when it needed to be done. Or y'all don't know what I'm talking about? Or maybe, Ted, come here, girl, let me give you some of this slice. I kept a little for you, so make sure you got it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Say out the name of your personal family ancestors at this time. At this time, we pour a special libation for our family ancestors, family ancestors represented by each and every one of us that are here today. For our collective African family ancestors, we say inside. To the unnamed African ancestors, there were many whose names we know, but we simply don't have time to call them all, because this struggle has been going on for a very long time. And we can say the names until next one, but we don't want to move forward without at least acknowledging their sacrifices. For the unnamed African ancestors that contributed to our struggle, we say inside. To the unknown African ancestors that contributed to our struggle, there were many who fought with Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, whose names we don't know. To the unnamed African ancestors that contributed to our struggle, we say inside. Finally, we pour a libation for the ancestors yet unborn. African cosmology and spirituality teaches us that children coming forth are ancestors returning to this realm with a divine mission, as we all have a divine mission. Everything in creation has divine reason for being. So we pour a libation for those returning ancestors, and we also have the responsibility as teachers, adults, parents, uncles, aunties, mamas, and babas to help ensure that the young children know that they have a divine reason for being. The Akan people call it Improbia. Can you say Improbia? That's the reason for being created. We have to ensure that they know that they have a divine reason, divine purpose, but we also have to help facilitate them realizing and fulfilling that divine mission. So we pour libations for the returning ancestors that will repeat after me to bring about positive change. Y'all don't believe it. Come on, to bring about positive change. Y'all still like, so it's sort of like when you get called on the question, you don't know what the answer is, so you know, but you're not sure, and you mumble. Right? Let's try it again. To bring about positive change, cultural restoration, re-Africanization, and the building of nationhood and sovereignty for African people everywhere, forever. For those ancestors returning, we say inside, inside, inside. Asante Sana, thank you very much. Habaragani, 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 Habaragani. Asante Sana, thank you very much.
I want to thank you all. I'd like to let you know that the preeminent Michael Imhotep is here with us this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
I want to interrupt just for a moment to say that I am going to light the candles. I'm also going to mention each day of Kwanzaa as I light the candles. You can, if you want, to say it. We're going to start with the black candle, which is the first one, and then we'll alternate between red and green for the rest of the 7 principles. Now, the 7 principles are called the Nguzo Saba, of the 7 principles, which are the first fruits. And as you see on this table display, we have fruits and vegetables, which represent the Nguzo Saba. So as I light each candle, you can, if you would like to, say the name. The first candle we're going to light, which is the first day of Kwanzaa, which is Umoja, which is unity. Okay, the second candle is Kuji Chagalia, which is self-determination. The third candle I'm gonna light is Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. The fourth candle I'm gonna light is Ujima, which is very important to me. It's cooperative economics. We have vendors in the back. And cooperative economics means we spend our money in our community before we take it to other communities. Ujama. Collective work and responsibility, correct. The fifth candle I'm going to light after the fourth one decides it wants to light is Nia, which is purpose. As the brother was saying, we have a divine Nia. The sixth candle I'm going to light is Kaumba, which is creative. That's important to me also because when we look at our culture is all over the world. When we look at everybody imitates us, we don't imitate anybody. We are creators. So Kaumba is creativity. The last candle I'm going to light, which is the day today, Imani, which is faith. And I turn the ceremony over to Mother Theo Bro. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That presentation was back on the video. We have our own native son. I think this is the third time I've said that. Michael Imhotep. And I certainly know that you all will enjoy his presentation. He is the preeminent Michael Imhotep.
All right. All right, thank you, Theo. All right, how's everybody doing today? Great. All right, the bar got it. Okay, the bar got it. All right, excellent. Okay, so I'm Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. I was here on Tuesday, December 27th, for the Kwanzaa presentation, Kwanzaa celebration. And I spoke from Malcolm X Grassroots. Some of you were there for that. And some of you, this is your first time coming to Kwanzaa this year here at King Solomon Baptist Church. So give yourself a round of applause. Coming out to the historic King Solomon Baptist Church where Malcolm X was founded in Brooklyn in 1964. So this presentation here, this is a extended presentation of what I did on Tuesday. I have some additional information in here as well. Okay, so the name of this presentation is From Kwanzaa to Wakanda, using the 7 principles to repair the debt from a legacy of slavery and racism, right? And at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. Let's see what that is to the next screen. Okay, right here. If you want to contact me, if you want me to speak for your group or organization, email me at ahnShow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com, ahnShow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. can also call me, 313-462-0003. All right, now, for this presentation, we're going to cover some information dealing with Kwanzaa and the history of Kwanzaa as well, but also some information dealing with Dr. King, Malcolm X, the Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and legal arguments for reparations. This is going to build on the presentation that I gave Tuesday. Now, you can listen to me Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on 9-10 a.m. to Superstation WFPF. April of 2023, it'll be 7 years me doing the African History Network show on WFPF. This is not easy work. I mean, make it look easy. This ain't easy work at all. Okay. So visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. We have information there. You can listen live and also watch the podcast on Facebook and YouTube. The African History Network on Facebook, where we're broadcasting right now on YouTube. And we have over 1,000 episodes in audio podcast format. So we're on about 9 or 10 different audio podcast platforms: iTunes, iHeartRadio, FM Player, TuneIn. So wherever you get your audio podcast from, search for the African History Network show. Now, Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., people watch me across the country on Roland Martin Unfiltered, on the Black Star Media Network, and on Roland's Facebook page. I provide historical analysis and political analysis. And then also on Mondays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., I'm also a contributor on a show called The Culture with Rising Muhammad. So I've been pretty busy. In addition to me getting a daytime job, okay? I've been pretty busy. All right. What'd you say, Baba Gibson? Hey, I taught entrepreneurship for 7 years. The first thing I told my students is don't get your day job. Okay, this ain't no joke. Okay, I had to go get a day job because to keep things going. All right, now I know I may say some things that may be outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Okay, now anytime I do a presentation, we got Baba right here, as well as Baba Tyrone. All right, Baba Tyrone, who's been helping us out here all week at King Solomon Baptist Church. So give the staff here a round of applause for hanging in there with us, hanging in with the vendors, all that stuff, through the snow, through the rain. We had like 4 seasons in 1 week. Yeah, we have 4 seasons in 1 week. All right, now I learned this from one of my teachers, Dr. Ray Higgins of the African Business. Now, whenever I speak, I know I may say some things that are outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you never heard them before and disagree with them does not mean that they are not true. It just means you may have to do some more research to understand what I'm talking about. So Dr. Ray Higgins teaches us the space inside this circle represents my realm of knowledge. Everything that I think I know about whatever I think I know is represented within the circumference of this circle. So just because you know everything that you know about what you know does not mean you know everything there is to know about what you know. There's still things that exist outside the circumference of your own awareness. All right, everybody understand me? Okay, now I was going to play this clip with Malcolm X, but they couldn't get the technology in the back, because of the system. So I have 2 quick clips here of Malcolm X. Now, this first one here, Malcolm asked the question of who are you? And this ties right into Kwanzaa, because Kwanzaa and the celebration of Kwanzaa helps to answer the question of who are we as African people. And Kwanzaa helps to reconnect us to African history, African culture, African language, etc. So, and Malcolm asked the question, who are you? Don't tell me Negro. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you and what did you have? What language did you speak? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. They don't have those type of names where you and I came from. What was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was? Where's your land? What happened to your history? What method did the man, he called him the man, what method did the man use to make you as dumb as you are right now? Okay, so Kwanzaa helps to answer that question, and it helps for us to remember, just as the 13 pieces of Asar's body or Cyrus's body were put back together, he was brought back to life. This is the same thing that has to happen with the consciousness of African people. The second clip that I have here, when I go through and edit this video in the video, is from March 29, 1964, Malcolm X speaking in Washington Heights, New York, delivering the ballot on the bullet. And this was 3 days after he met with Dr. King for the first and only time at the U.S. Senate debate for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. Because what the way that Dr. King largely is incorrect. Dr. King was a revolutionary. If you ever read any of his books, how many books did Dr. King write? Who can tell me? Who can tell me? How many books did Dr. King write? 5. Who said 5? To be my man. Correct. He wrote 5 books. What was Dr. King's first book? Who can tell me? Message from the No, book. Okay, for the sake of time, Dr. King's first book was called Stride Towards Freedom. Came out in 1958. It was about the history of the Montgomery bus boycott. His last book is probably his most important book. Everybody needs to read this. Where do we go here in Chaos Community? Because if you understand, if you read that book about Dr. King, you realize that every Dr. King Day, these watered down celebrations of Dr. King that are put on by white people and the Negroes who are paid by white people, you realize that they're false. The way, last Dr. King Day, I spoke in West Virginia first. I spoke at a college, Elks College in West Virginia. There's a sister there who's a professor. She invited me to speak. Those white people are still recovering from the information I dropped on them about Dr. King. Okay, it was a largely white audience. Okay, it's in West Virginia. Joe Manchin's West Virginia. African Americans are like 3% of the population of West Virginia. They still recovering from the information I dropped on them. All right, now, Kwanzaa answers the question of who are we by reconnecting many African Americans to our history and culture. And if you listen to the African History Network show, you hear me say a people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past, the present, and the future to meet the needs of the community. Okay? We don't acquire this knowledge, and I've been studying history for 30 years. Okay? We don't acquire this knowledge to win debates. We acquire this knowledge to transform our thinking, which transforms our behavior, which transforms our results, which transforms our community. We have to understand why we study this. This is hard work. Okay? And this don't come with a pension plan, health insurance, none of that stuff. I had to go get a job to get all that stuff. All right, now. Okay. So, all right. Now, also in the movie Black Panther, the first one and the second, when they talk about show them who you are, this also reconnects to understand history and culture, because you have to understand African history and culture for you to be able to understand who you are, to be able to show somebody who you are as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. All right, now, let's go forward. Okay, so very quickly here. March 26, 1964, Dr. King and Malcolm X meet for the first and only time. Now, Malcolm was trying to set up another meeting in early 1965, and Malcolm goes to Selma, Alabama, because he wants to meet with Dr. King. Dr. King's in jail. Malcolm meets with Coretta Scott. Okay, we know Malcolm's assassinated February 21st, 1965 in the Audubon Ballroom in Washington Heights, New York. Okay, now, there's an excellent article that deals with this meeting, and it's about the Washington Post, all right? And at this meeting, they just met for 2 minutes. Malcolm tells Dr. King that he's throwing all of this effort into the heart of the civil rights movement. Because Malcolm joins the civil rights movement after his official separation from the Nation of Islam. He officially separates March 8, 1964, okay? He meets Dr. King later in the same month that he separated officially from the Nation of Islam. Now, this is before he goes on his Hajj to Mecca, okay, in a tour of 14 different African nations. That's late April of 64. All right, now also, just a historical note here. One of my teachers, Professor James Small, is the historical consultant on the TV show Godfather of Harlem, which stars Forrest Whitaker as Bumpy Johnson. And how many people watch Godfather of Harlem? Oh, you gotta watch Godfather of Harlem. It's on Epics. This show deals with the relationship between Bumpy Johnson and Harlem, Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Okay? And they're all in Harlem, they all know each other, they all have relationships with each other, and in various ways, they're all fighting on behalf of our own people. Even Bumpy, who's in the underworld, okay? He's helping the civil rights movement as well, and Bumpy Johnson provided security for Malcolm X when Malcolm left the Nation of Islam, and Malcolm called off the security about 2 or 3 weeks before he was assassinated. Okay, because Bumpy and Malcolm were friends going back to when Malcolm was out in the streets. Okay, how many people know this? You gotta watch, oh, this is deep, and Professor Small and I, you know, because he goes back into that movement, and he was an imam from Muslim Mosque East which was the religious organization that Malcolm founded once he left the Nation of Islam. We know he founded the Organization of African American Unity, but he also founded a religious organization, Muslim Wives for Equal. Okay, so that's what we got to bring Professor Small here to break down history. All right, but I want to share this information with you because this is where Malcolm spoke in 1963, Message to the Grassroots, but also 1964, Battle of the Wood. Now, while Malcolm was still in the Nation of Islam, he sends a letter to the leading civil rights leaders, July 31st, 1963, the month before the March on Washington, which was August 28th, 1963. Malcolm sends a letter to the leading civil rights leaders, including Dr. King, and he's requesting a meeting with them to take place in August 1963. And Malcolm is calling for a unification of the civil rights leaders and of their followers. He did this while he was still in the Nation of Islam. How many people know about this? Okay, so see, Malcolm was way ahead of his time. So was Dr. King, but Malcolm was way ahead of his time. Now, he was calling for a united front among the African American civil rights leaders and their followers against racial oppression. Okay, so Malcolm said, Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X met only once. Dr. King was stepping out of a news conference when Malcolm X, dressed in an elegant black overcoat and wearing his signature horn-rimmed glasses, greeted him. Malcolm said, Dr. King said, "Well, Malcolm, good to see you." Malcolm replied, "Good to see you." And Malcolm told Dr. King, "I'm throwing myself into the heart of the civil rights struggle." Read this article here from the Washington Post. All right, now, Malcolm sends a, let me see, okay. Now, in his Amsterdam News column, Dr. King mourned Malcolm's assassination. And Dr. King said, quote, "Like the murder of Congo Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba," you know the CIA was involved in that, "the murder of Malcolm X deprives the world of a potentially great leader. I could not agree with either of these men, but I could see in them a capacity for leadership which I could respect." Now keep in mind, Dr. King's ideology is steadily evolving. So is Malcolm's. And if you read the book by James H. Cone, Martin, Malcolm in America, A Dream or a Nightmare, you see that their ideologies were converging toward the end of their lives. Okay? And remember, Malcolm was assassinated first, Dr. King got assassinated in 1968. All right, now, in a telegram to Malcolm X's widow, Betty Shabazz, Dr. King wrote, quote, "While we did not always see eye to eye on methods to solve the race problem, I always had a deep affection for Malcolm and felt that he had a great ability to put his finger on the existence and root of the problem." Read this full article. This came out January 14, 2018 from Washington Post. It's entitled, "Martin Luther King Jr. Met Malcolm X Just Once. The photo still haunts us with what was lost." And so this is when they met. This was early in the same month that Malcolm delivers the Battle of the Bullet for the first time that I know of, which was March 29, 1964 in Washington Heights, New York. Okay. Now, how many people know that Dr. King met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? They don't teach us this in school. They don't talk about this on Dr. King Day on MSNBC and CNN usually. And when they had these watered down corporate sponsored Dr. King Day celebrations. All right, and this is why I don't get invited to a lot of stuff. Now, if y'all want me to come here and deal with the revolutionary Dr. King, I'll do that. Because when I do my presentation with Dr. King on Dr. King Day, I talk about the Dr. King that tried to get a concealed pistol license in Montgomery, Alabama in 1956 during the Montgomery bus boycott. As his house was firebomb. Dr. King owned guns until Bayard Rustin convinced him to get rid of them. Get rid of the Dr. Y'all knew Dr. King owned guns, right? And it was Bayard Rustin that convinced him to get rid of guns. Don't take my word for it. Go read the book by Professor Charles E. Cobb Jr. It's called "This Nonviolent Stuff to Get You Killed: How Guns Make the Civil Rights Movement Possible." If you read that book, it'll totally change the way you look at the Civil Rights Movement. Because it was Negro, all those people on guns. Rosa Parks, her husband, Megan Evers, Fannie Beamer, Dr. King, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, all those people own guns. They're from the South. They knew what those white people were capable of. The whole way that the Civil Rights Movement has been taught to us is backwards. We were using guns to protect ourselves and protect civil rights workers even before the Deacons for Defense and Justice were founded in Jonesboro, Louisiana in 1960. We got a history of armed resistance. See, this is one of the problems. Let me just detour for a quick second. This is when I got time. Theo gave me time. We had a long conversation, so I got time. Y'all all right? Okay. How many people saw the first Eyes on the Prize series, which deals with 1954 to 1965? Okay, with the voter rights act. Okay, that's a good series. I have it on DVD at home. But that first installment that deals with, it starts with basically 55. It starts with the killing of the lynching of Imhotep, August 28th, 1955. That series does not deal with the armed resistance that was used to protect the civil rights workers. Now, in the second installment, when they deal with the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, and they interviewed Huey P. Newton, who's one of my frat brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. They interviewed Bobby Seale. They talk about the Deacons for Defense and Justice. They get into it there, but you can't get it on DVD anywhere. I looked. The first one is on DVD, where they don't deal with the armed resistance, okay? And Professor Charles E. Cobb Jr., he was a field secretary for SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, for 5 years in rural Mississippi. And now, if you are from the South, and prior to the Great Migration, 90% of African Americans live in the South. If you're from the South, and my family on my dad's side, they're from Mississippi, you know that was dangerous work, trying to organize African Americans to vote in rural Mississippi. Okay, he said that whenever they stayed at somebody's home, the civil rights workers, whenever they stayed at somebody's home, a Black person's home, those Black people own guns now because they grew up in the South. Yes, they went to church. Yes, they had Bibles, but they also had bullets. Okay, so we have to understand was missing from the way this story is told in white mainstream media, even though they do have some good information in the first Eyes on the Prize. Now, February 24th, 1966, Dr. King and Coretta Scott King go to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's house in Chicago, and Dr. King meets with Elijah Muhammad. This gets totally left out of the history, okay? Now, you don't have to take my word for this. At the Nation of Islam's website, NOI.org, they got a whole article that documents this, okay? So there's always an effort by outsiders to cause division amongst our people and amongst our leaders and things like this, right? But if you go study them, okay, there's no respect between Dr. King and Malcolm. All right, so this is what we have to understand. All right, let's continue. So this is why, if we really study this history, it'll cut down on a whole lot of arguing and fighting amongst all of us. Okay? Which deals with the first principle of Kwanzaa, which is emoji unity. I'm gonna get to the principles quickly in just a minute here. But because we're here where Malcolm spoke, I want to give you some of this background historical information because a lot of people don't know this. We're also broadcasting on social media as well. All right, now, let's continue. Okay. Okay, I gotta see this guy going. All right, because I left my clicker at home, so I'm using this mouse. Okay, here we go. Okay, now read this book here by James H. Cone, Martin Malcolm in America, Dream or Nightmare. I read it back in 1994 when I was at Wayne State University here in Detroit. Blew my mind. In this book, now James H. Cone is the father of Black liberation theology. He just passed away 2 or 3 years ago. And this book documents how toward the end of both of their lives, their ideologies were converted. And one of the themes of the Battle of the Bullet that Malcolm delivers, because a lot of people totally misunderstand that speech. One of the themes of it is Malcolm is talking about interjecting Black nationalism into the civil rights movement and totally radicalizing the civil rights movement. So we have to go back and study that speech and read the entire speech. Now, one of the reasons why Kwanzaa is so important is even though we talk about the history of the transatlantic slave trade, which is important to understand, begins basically in 1441 with Anton Gonzalez going into Mauritania, the Portuguese, because the transatlantic slave trade begins with the Portuguese. The Spanish are right behind it. And what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade, we know is the 800-year occupation of Europe by Africans known as the Moors, okay, who take the teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe when they go into 711 AD, they're about to Kefentse. And this knowledge is going to bring Europe out of the Dark Ages. Okay, now I teach classes on this information, and I tell my students in my classes, I wish we had never taught them, because everything we taught Europeans came back to kick us in the behind. If you actually understand the history. Okay? All right, now, how many people are familiar with Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Where Africans Documented Evidence? How many people are familiar with that book? Now, the first Americans were Africans. Nobody's familiar with, hold on, wait a second, hold on. This is Detroit. I helped bring him to Detroit twice. How many people are familiar with Dr. David Imhotep? Wrote the book, The First Americans Where Africans Documented Evidence? Come on. And his second book came out in October, I think it was October 2021. The First Americans Where Africans Revised and Expanded. His book and his research deals with the African presence in this land we call the United States of America, or what Native Americans call Turtle Island. And a lot of those Native Americans were African people. His research and his book deals with the African presence in this land we call the United States of America, going back at least 51,700 years ago. This is before Native Americans even came into existence. Now, am I saying the transatlantic slave trade did not exist? No, I'm not saying that at all. It happened, but you got to understand 50,000 years of history, not 500 years of history. This was our land stolen from us. If we walk away from this 7-day Kwanzaa celebration, and we practice these principles and talk about these principles for 7 days, so we can practice them all year long. Okay, not to be super black for 7 days and a Negro the rest of the year. Okay, this is why from December 26th to January 1st, so you can take these principles into the new year on the Gregorian, introduced by Pope Gregory the 13th, I think it was, in 1583. If we take away from this that this was our land stolen from us, it'll totally change the way we look at all this. We were here before Native Americans came into this. It's not taking anything away from Native Americans. They suffered oppression from white supremacy and racism, so did us. So did we. Okay? But we were here before Europeans as well. Now, on page 14 of his book, and his book is backed up by 713 footnotes, as well as 7 peer-reviewed articles, which is the height of academia. All right? For those that want to deal with European academia, that's the height of academia. He cites a discovery by Dr. Albert Goodyear, who's an archaeologist at the University of South Carolina. And this discovery is made in 2004 in Allendale County, South Carolina. Dr. Albert Goodyear is a white archaeologist that helps you know, make you feel better about the information. They found 13 different types of evidence fairly documenting an African presence in this country going back at least 51,700 years ago. They found artifacts, architecture, campsites, carvings, Egyptian writings, footprints in lava, genetic M174D haploid group dealing with DNA and genetics, paintings, skulls, skeletons, structures, and tools. They found 13 different types of evidence. Now, this is the Khoisan. The Khoisan have the oldest DNA on the planet. This is the Ainu and the Twa. They go all around the world, and they were here as well. Okay, so yes, the Amistad happened in 1839. Yes, Africans were brought into Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, not Jamestown. August 20th, 1619 on the White Lion pirate ship. In exchange, 29 Africans exchanged food and water and supplies. Yes, the Spanish brought Africans into the Georgia, South Carolina area in 1526, and they tried to set up a settlement, and those Africans overthrew them after about 3 or 4 weeks or so and went off to live, it's believed, with Native Americans. Yes, all that happened. Yes, Juan Garrido, who was born in West Africa in 1480, came into Florida in 1513 with the Spanish conquistador Juan Ponce de Leon. Yes, that's true also. But tens of thousands of years before that, there was just African people here. So the sooner we realize that, and realize that we did not come here conquered and shackled and changed by Europeans, it caused a seismic shift in our mentality. All right, now, what is Kwanzaa? Okay, a lot of people say Kwanzaa is a black people's Christmas. When I was heading home yesterday, I Lyft ride, and there's an African American woman who was driving. She didn't know anything about Kwanzaa, never celebrated it. She asked me about Kwanzaa. I wanted to go to sleep after being there all day. But she kept asking me questions about Kwanzaa, so I educated her on it. Now, what is Kwanzaa? Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African holiday which celebrates family, community, and culture. Not Federal Communications Commission, FCC, family, community, and culture. is celebrated from December 26th to January 1st. Now, the name Kwanzaa comes from the Kiswahili phrase Mafundi ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruits. Now, Kiswahili is the most widely spoken African language. For more information, you can go to the official website of Kwanzaa, officialkwanzaawebsite.com. Okay, officialkwanzaawebsite.com. Now, there are three main reasons why Kwanzaa was created. Okay, and those over with the vendors, I don't want to interrupt Black commerce, but please hold down the noise. Okay, please hold down the noise, those over there with the vendors. Three main reasons why Kwanzaa was created. Number one, Kwanzaa was created to reaffirm and restore our rootedness in African culture, which we have been stripped of for the most part during the Ma'afa, which is a Kiswahili term referring to the transatlantic slave trade. Ma'afa means the Great Disaster. Okay, and this was a term popularized by many African-centered scholars like Dr. Mariba Ani, who wrote the book Yoruba, an African-centered critique of European cultural thought and behavior. Okay, and she also wrote Let the Circle Be Broken before Yoruba came out. Okay, so for the most part during the Ma'afa or Great Disaster known as the transatlantic slave trade. Now, Kwanzaa is an expression of recovery and reconstruction of African culture. Kwanzaa is an expression of recovery and reconstruction of African culture. It's not Black folks' Christmas, okay? It's something much more deeper than something much deeper than that. Now, this is a process that was taking place in various degrees during the Black liberation movement of the 1960s, especially with groups like Organization US, which Dr. Maulana Karenga co-founded. Now, number two, second reason, main reason why Kwanzaa was created. Kwanzaa was created to serve as a regular communal celebration to reaffirm and reinforce the bonds between us as a people. It was designed to be an ingathering or a coming together to strengthen community and reaffirm common identity, purpose, and direction as a people and a world community. And number three reason, main reason why Kwanzaa was to introduce and reinforce the Nguzo Saba of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Okay, the 7 African communitarian principles of Kwanzaa are Umoja, unity; Chike, self-determination; Ujima, collective work and responsibility; Ujamaa, cooperative economics; Nia, purpose; Kuumba, creativity; and Imani, faith, which is today's principle. Imani, which is faith. Okay, so I'm going to go to the 7th one because we've dealt with the other 6 previous days. Imani, faith, to believe with all of our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders. I would add an addendum, the leaders that deserve it, because all of them deserve it. Our leaders and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Now, when was Kwanzaa created? It was created in 1966 by Dr. Maulana Karenga and members of Organization US, co-founders of this. One on Organization US on their official website. They talk about how it was a member of Organization US that co-founded Kwanzaa. 2, I talk specifically to one of my teachers, Dr. Dennis Jeffries, who knows everybody, and he confirmed me that yes, it was members of Organization US that also co-founded Kwanzaa. So we want to give those warriors their just due as well. Okay, and members of the Organization US in the midst of the Black freedom movement. It reflects a concern for cultural groundedness in thought and practice. Now, Kwanzaa was created to serve multiple purposes and to address specific problems that African people were dealing with in America in 1966, and we're still dealing with a lot of these problems today. Okay, and one of the problems is we don't understand history of the 1960s and prior to that, and we keep allowing certain historical events to repeat themselves. Dr. Karenga is the chair and professor of Africana Studies at California State University in Long Beach, California. Now, very quickly here, what is Pan-Africanism? Because people hear Pan-Africanism and a lot of times they get scared and think they have to change religions and stop eating pork, stop chasing white women, things like that. Okay, you don't have to do that. It'll help, but you don't have to do that. But it'll help if you did. Okay. Now, what is Pan-Africanism? Pan-Africanism is an ideology that African people around the world and throughout the diaspora should be united. It deals with social, cultural, political, economic, material, and spiritual aspects. It doesn't matter who your colonizer was or who your colonizer is. Because some colonized people think they're better because they were colonized by the French as opposed to the English. They think they're better because they were colonized by the British instead of the Germans, things like this. No, they were all colonized, including in Mesoamerica. They were colonized by the Spanish, by the conquistadors, and this is one of the themes of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This is what happens. They brought in a Latino Mesoamerican narrative by changing Prince Namor into a Latino, which brings in a whole other narrative, and it's a shared story of colonization by Europeans, especially the Spanish. The Spanish defeated the Moors, kicked the Moors out of Spain, and they were kicked out of other European areas as well. And some of those Africans, some of those Moors are going to be enslaved, taken into Spanish colonies. Also, it's a whole deep history that leads us up to where we are today. Now, Pan-Africanism teaches that the fate of African people worldwide is intertwined, and we share not only a common history, but a common destiny. For more information, read Pan-Africanism for Beginners by Sid Lamel, pages 11 through 13. Okay, now, moving right along here. What are first fruit celebrations? Kwanzaa is based upon African cultural first fruit harvest celebrations that date back hundreds, in some cases thousands of years. It wasn't something that somebody just made up out there. This is based upon African traditions that we practice for generations. Now, first fruit celebrations have taken place in African history going back to ancient Kemet and Ta-Nehesi or Ta-Seti, or what's called Nubia. And Nubia is a Greek word. We know Nubia is the mother of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. And Nubia is the daughter of Abyssinia or Ethiopia. Now, first fruit celebrations occur in ancient and modern African civilizations, such as among the Ashanti of Ghana and Yoruba of Nigeria. We can also find first fruit celebrations in large African empires like the Zulu or Amazulu of South Africa, or Azania Mwini Mutako, and smaller societies in southeastern Africa like the Metabele, the Thonga, and Levadi. Kwanzaa builds on the 5 fundamental activities of continental African first fruit celebrations. Let me repeat this. Kwanzaa builds on the 5 fundamental activities of continental African first fruit celebrations, which are ingathering, reverence, commemoration, recommitment, and celebration. For more information, now to be able to do these presentations of Kwanzaa, I read Dr. Maulana's book that deals with Kwanzaa and the origins of it, and the African origins of Kwanzaa, and the African cultural practices that Kwanzaa is based upon. You can read his book, The African American Holiday of Kwanzaa, a celebration of family, community, and culture, by Dr. Maulana Karenga. This comes from pages 16 through 17. How many people read that book? How many people read that book? If we go to Kwanzaa celebrations every year. Nobody's read this book? You got to read this book. It'll change totally how you think about Kwanzaa. All right, now, in ancient Kemet, the festival was called Pert in Men, M-I-N, or the coming forth of men, which was seen as a reaffirmment of the harmonious interlocking of the divine, natural and human or social. Among the Zulu, it was called Nkosi. Among the Swazi, it was called Ikwala. Among the Matabele, it was called Ikwala. Among the Ashanti, it had various names, like Odwara, or I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, O-D-W-I-R-A. Among the Yoruba, it had various names depending on the region, okay, like Olafin or Odun or Ijesu. Now, the Ashanti and Yoruba festivals are usually referred to as the New Yam Festival, which is the time of the harvesting the first yams. Eagles have various names and are from different African societies or nations. They all focus around the harvesting of the first fruits and have similar values and practices, okay? And this comes from pages 16 to 17 of the same book as well. Now, a lot of people attack Kwanzaa, and they say it's a made-up holiday and things like this. But all these European holidays we call to celebrate are made-up holidays. This is what people have to understand. Now, how many people read the book African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide by Dr. Chike Sharda? He wrote 2 volumes of that book, book 1 and book 2. Read both of them because it deals with the origins of these European holidays. And I studied the origins of all the European holidays we call to celebrate. I don't tell African people don't celebrate these holidays. I tell them you should at least understand the history of what it is that you were celebrating and what you have been taught to celebrate. You should at least understand that history, okay? Because if you decide to keep celebrating it, it will probably change how you engage in that celebration. But Christmas, December 25th, which is tied to the winter solstice, okay? Easter, which is a movable feast, and we know Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday following the first full moon following the vernal equinox. That's when Easter is celebrated based upon astronomy. Same thing with Christmas. There was the winter solstice, which occurs December 20th, December 21st. All right. Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick was a mass murderer who killed thousands of Druids in Ireland, and the Druids were dealing with a watered-down version of teaching coming out of the Nile Valley region of Africa, especially ancient Kemet. If you celebrate St. Patrick's Day, you haven't researched St. Patrick, I don't know what to tell you. Europeans oftentimes honor their mass murderers. Like Christopher Columbus, he was a mass murderer. That's right. All right, Cinco de Mayo, the 4th of July, what Dr. Shaka Musa Berashango called the 4th of July, or what Europeans call the 4th of July, Valentine's Day, etc. All right, and then this may go outside the circumference of some people aware of this. On my Facebook fan page, the African History Network, it got, I think, close to 1,000 likes. It's breaking down the astronomical between the winter solstice and December 20th. Okay. Okay. So if you understand the Latin term of solstice, it means sun stands still. S-U-E, right? So December 21st, the winter solstice fell this year on December 21st, and from December 22nd, 23rd, 24th, the S-U-E, not the S-O-N, the S-U-N, the Son of God, is in the constellation of Capricorn. It appears that it does not move for 3 days. Okay, it appears it does not move for 3 days. On December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree northward, and there's an increase in the amount of sunlight on December 25th, and each subsequent day, there's more and more sunlight after December 25th. So in ancient times, December 25th was known as the birthday of the sun, or the birthday of the Son of God. Not S-O-N, but S-U-N. All right, y'all follow me? Okay. So December 25th, we know we celebrate this. May go outside of the conference, some people's awareness, but when you read the Helios Biblos, or the Holy Bible, Helios is in reference to sun, not S-O-N, but S-U-N. Look up Holy Bible in the dictionary, look at the etymology, it takes you back to Helios Biblos. Nowhere in the biblical text does it mention the celebration of Christmas. How many people know this? Nowhere in the biblical text does it mention the celebration of Christmas. Nowhere in the biblical text does it state that Yeshua, or Jesus, was born on December 25th. So you have to go do the research and see where this comes from. We're dealing with very ancient stories told over and over and over again, adapted to various people's cultures over thousands of years. Okay? Very quickly here. How many people read Christianity Before Christ by Dr. John G. Jackson? This gets a little deeper into it. I ain't gonna go too deep into it. I'm short on time. But read pages 126 to 128, okay? This is what he talks about. In ancient Kemet, or Egypt, 3,000 years ago, the birthday of the sun deity was celebrated on December equivalent, because they weren't using the Gregorian calendar. The first day to notably after the day of the winter solstice, December 21st. Now, at the midnight hour, on the first minutes of the 25th of December, the birthday of the sun was commemorated. On December 25th, the sun is in the constellation of Capricorn, okay? Today, that constellation is called Capricorn. 3,000 years ago, the constellation was the stable of Aegeus, S-T-A-B-L-E, the stable of Aegeus. So, the Son of God, the S-U-N, not the S-O-N, was born in a stable. Another word for stable, which is very similar, is a manger. So the infant sun god, Heru, dealing with Heru in ancient Kemet, or what the Greeks call Horus, was said to have been born in a stable. This is all easily verifiable. You don't have to take my word for this. Proper documentation ends all conversation. Brightly shining on the meridian was the star Sirius, the star from the east, which is the brightest star in the sky. While rising in the east was Virgo, the Virgin. Now the constellation, now first of all, there's a zodiac symbol of Virgo, right? There's a zodiac symbol of Virgo, right? Okay, Virgo is Latin for virgin. In ancient times, that constellation was the constellation of all Set, who the Greeks called Isis. And you're dealing with the sun born of a virgin birth. All right. To the right of Sirius was the constellation Orion, the great hunter, with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. These stars in a straight line point at Sirius and were anciently known as the 3 kings. Because in the book of Malachi, it talks about the Magi, but it doesn't tell you how many. The 3 kings, we have them in the Gospels as the 3 Magi or wise men from the east. So they took astrotheology, put it into allegorical form, and then taught it as literal history. So as one of my teachers, Professor Kabahai Waka Kamane, correctly teaches, to understand the existence of something, you must first understand the pre-existence of existence. And some people are anti-Bible. I'm not anti-Bible. We need to study the Helios, study the Bible, use it as a bridge to take us back to ancient Africa, to reconnect us with what we had before foreigners, makers, and fools came into the continent of Africa, misinterpreted what we had and represented it to the world like they created themselves. One of our great South African freedom fighters, Bantu Stephen Biko, said the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. I want to leave you with this information here. Okay, so I talked about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, fantastic movie. There's a shared history of African and Mesoamerican history as well. There's some good information on Mesoamerican civilization at Britannica.com. And one of the themes of the movie was Africans and Europeans, both colonized, Africans and Latinos, both colonized by Europeans, and fighting against European oppressors. I want to leave you with this information here, because this gets into the Black Creek and Indian treaties of 1866. Now, there was a 500-page study released by the California Reparations Task Force, June 1st, 2022. This article from the Washington Post came out. California calls for comprehensive reparations for Black Americans. And this is something I've talked about on Roland Martin Filter, Rice Muhammad Show, the African History Network. We have to assess the damage of a legacy of 246 years of slavery, decades of Jim Crow segregation, redlining, housing discrimination, etc. Okay? To assess the damage, you can't start with African people in slavery. The concept of reparations means to repair, to restore you, to make you whole again, restore you to a state that you were in before the damage was done. This goes back to Malcolm asking the question of who are you, okay? So we have to understand that we were a free people who were stripped of our history, culture, language, spiritual systems, land, familial ties, nationality, folklore, mores, stripped of all of that, put into, generally speaking, stripped of that. There's still remnants of it, but generally speaking, stripped that and then put into an institution of slavery. So you can't start the time clock at 1619. You got to understand who we were before we were put into that institution to really assess the damage that was done. All right, now, this is what the California Reparations Task Force is doing with the 500-page study that was released June 1st, 2022. And they have a link to it in this article here from the Washington Post. Now, the report, which was released June 1st, 2022, offers a comprehensive look at the impacts of enslavement and generations of discrimination of not just African Americans in California, but across the country, all right? It finds that the damage to African American communities is extensive and that a variety of intentionally crafted policy, judicial decisions, and racism by private actors have created a widespread exclusion of African Americans that has not been sufficiently addressed at any level of government. Here's an excerpt of the study. Almost 150 years of active, conscious, federal, state, and local government action and neglect of duty have resulted in compounded harms that are unique to Black Americans. The authors wrote in a draft reviewed by NBC News prior to this release. Okay, they go on to talk about how comprehensive reparations is needed, not just monetary reparations, because you have to change the laws and policies that were put in place that inflicted the harm in the first place and continue to inflict the harm. All right, now for the sake of time, let me skip through this here, and I want to go to this right here. Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons, who's of African American and Creek Indian ancestry, and Representative Maxine Waters are trying to get justice for Black Native Americans. I talked about this on the African History Network show. Descendants of Black freedmen enslaved by Native Americans in 1800 seek tribal citizenship. Representative Maxine Waters tries to help. Okay, now this ties into the origins of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this ties into the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866. How many people are familiar with this? The Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866. Because these Indian treaties, many of our ancestors were in those treaties, and they were getting land from those treaties, got membership in Native American nations, the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, and they get pushed out of these Native American treaties around 1941, okay, and their land is taken away. But we actually have a history of getting something from these treaties. Now, I'm gonna wrap up here. I'm gonna wrap up here in a couple minutes, Theo, okay? I'm gonna wrap up here in a couple minutes. Now, I was speaking at a Midwest Decarbonization Environmental Conference. I was speaking there, it was a virtual conference, November 4th, 2022. I was on a panel discussion with African Americans and Native Americans. And I was invited by a sister named Marnice Jackson in the environmental movement. She invited me to speak and be on this panel. And the Native Americans, and we're dealing with reparations, and we're dealing with environmental justice for Native Americans and Africans. The Native Americans were talking about getting their treaties enforced by the federal government. And treaties are one of the supreme forms of law in the United States. Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution tells you that the U.S. Constitution, all the previous treaties and all the subsequent treaties of the supreme law of the land. This is what Native Americans are talking about on the panel. It's about 7 people in total on the panel. The African Americans on the panel were talking about getting a study done. They were talking about the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866, where we have a history of actually getting benefits from, and allow the early African American landowners in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You talk about Black Wall Street, but we don't understand the history of Black Wall Street and the origins of it, because a lot of those early African American landowners got land from these Black Freedmen Indian treaties. These treaties are still on the books today, being enforced by the Choctaw Chickasaw, being enforced for the Choctaw Chickasaw Creek and Cherokee and Seminole Indians. All right, now I'm not against a study, but we need to start at the foundation. This is low-hanging fruit. This is where the majority of our attention needs to be on to get this enforced, because this is on the books right now. And we got a documented history of actually getting some benefits from this. Now, Maxine Waters leads push to get justice for Black Native Americans. This article is from thegrio.com. Read this full article. October 13, 2021. A dispute between Black members of indigenous tribes and the federal government is part of a history that is now being exposed from Capitol Hill. Okay, now we ain't gonna be able to get this pushed through with the white nationalist party holding the House of Representatives. It's gonna be coming in the earliest to be 2025 when we get them out of office. Because the crazies are gonna be in charge of the House of Representatives in a few days. And you're not gonna see, you don't know what crazy is till you see these fools who gonna be in charge of the House. Okay? This is why you have to understand that politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. And we also have to use our votes not just to get tangible benefits, but also to stop people trying to do us harm. You cannot have crazy people in power. You're crazy in love may work in the Beyonce song, but crazy people in power is dangerous. Okay? So we have to understand this. All right, now, Congresswoman Maxine Waters is calling out Native American tribes who held Black slaves and continue to discriminate against Black Native Americans. Descendants of those enslaved by the hands of Native American tribes may get a slice of justice through access to Native American federal subsidies. Access to Native American federal subsidies that had been previously denied to them. This is all dealing with law, okay? Law and politics. The California Congresswoman, Representative Maxine Waters, is seeking to get 5 tribes to comply with their 1866 treaty obligation that recognize Black Native American freedmen and their descendants as full citizens of the tribes, therefore making them entitled to all of the rights afforded to any other citizens of the tribe, like free college tuition, distribution of land, all that stuff, free taxes in many cases. There's all these types of benefits that we don't know about. And many of us, there's an article from the New York Times where they've identified about 160,000 African Americans who will qualify for these benefits because they have Native American ancestry. But a lot of us don't know this. We're trying to get a study done. I'm all for studies. But this is low-hanging fruit right here. This is where the majority of our time and energy needs to be, to get this enforced. Once you get that enforced, then from there. Okay, now Representative Maxine Waters, she goes through some of the numbers of the 5 civilized tribes of Native Americans that owned African slaves. Now, much of the dispute between Black members of the indigenous tribes and the federal government is part of a history that is now being exposed on Capitol Hill. This is the part that a lot of people don't know. A little bit of it was exposed in June 2021, after June 21st, 1921 became a day of a national day of recognition here in the country, okay, which is really important because this forced into the national narrative a history that people are passing laws in states to keep us from teaching the history in the school, okay? So this forced that history into the national conversation. Now, Tulsa, Oklahoma rose to national notoriety this year, 2021, as the nation commemorated the century-old massacre that destroyed 40 blocks of Black wealth, commonly known as Black Wall Street. Now, we were able to reveal Black Wall Street after the Tulsa race. Now, some of the people didn't reveal; they ran away. But we were able to reveal the Greenwood district, Black Wall Street. We were able to reveal that, not from government help, but because we got help from the surrounding Black townships. Because there are about over 55 Black townships in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, now, but now Representative Maxine Waters is leading efforts to get the descendants of Black enslaved people on Native American reservations across Oklahoma and western states their due. The chairwoman in the House Financial Services Committee, Democrats have been fighting for the treaty right of freedmen descendants since at least 2008. Many of these tribes forced their enslaved Africans along the famous Trail of Tears. See, we've been taught in school that it was just Native Americans on the Trail of Tears. No, a third of those people were African people on the Trail of Tears. They get pushed off their land in southeast United States because of the Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed into law by President Andrew Jackson. And his secretary, I think it was the Secretary of War, was Lewis Cass. The Cass Tech is named after him. So Cass Tech helped, Lewis Cass helped engineer the forced migration of African people into Oklahoma over 1,000 miles. This is why now this may go off, some people may not agree with this, but I graduated from Cass Tech, so I can talk and I challenge anybody to repeat what I say. African Americans should have changed the name of Cass Tech decades ago. When we took over, you don't name your institutions after your oppressor. Only brain damaged Negroes do something like that. You don't name Jews don't name institutions after Adolf Hitler. You don't name your institutions, especially your institutions of excellence, after your oppressor who worked to engineer atrocities on your own people. There's something wrong up here. I graduated from Cass Tech '89. I can talk. I challenge anybody to refute what I'm saying. There's a building in the U.S. Capitol, and Governor Gretchen Whitmer changed the name of the building from Lewis Cass, changed the name after an African American. She got more sense than some of us have, and she's white. All right. Now, many of these tribes forced their enslaved along the famous Trail of Tears that carried Native Americans west and helped establish the roots of the Black population of the Greenwood district in North Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Black Wall Street is. Much of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was built from these treaties between the United States government and these Native American tribes. Okay, this is the last part right here. Read this article from history.com. History.com is the official website of the History Channel. This is what white people are telling you. They're telling you about this history as well, but we don't know this. We're trying to get a study done. I'm all for studies, but we got to tap into these treaties. Now, the name of this article, nine entrepreneurs who helped build Tulsa's Black Wall Street. It's from history.com, May 14, 2021. And take this article to the white congressmen and senators, because we're gonna have to go through them to get this stuff passed. This is what the White History Channel is telling you, not the African History Network. The White History Channel is telling you this is, quote, the relative wealth of some Black folks in Oklahoma comes in part through their connection to these Native American tribes and their land ownership, said Hannibal B. Johnson. And Hannibal B. Johnson is a historian, and he's one of the top authorities on the history of Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. He wrote a new book called Black Wall Street 100 in American City Grapples with this historic trial. I read his first book on Black Wall Street from Renaissance, from Destruction of Renaissance, something like that. It came out by 1990. I read his first book on Black Wall Street, and I've talked to him on Facebook. The Dawes Allotment Act of 1887, named after Senator Henry O. Dawes of Massachusetts, authorized the government to divide tribal territories into allotments for individual Native Americans, which included Black members. As word spread that Indian territory was safe for African Americans to settle between 1865 and 1920, more than 50 Black townships were founded in Oklahoma. Okay, so read that full article. Now, one of my teachers, Dr. Paul Anderson, he's been trying to get the Black Freeman Indian treaties enforced. He said the mistake that he made was he went to the executive branch of the federal government as opposed to the legislative branch of the federal government. Attorney DeMario Solomon Simmons, he's going through the legislative branch. And we need to help him with that. He can't do that all by himself. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Be sure to come to my finger table in the back. We got my lectures. We got a bundle pack of 15 of my lectures, also in DVD and digital download format. Also register people for my online history classes I teach. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understand the transatlantic slave trade, where they didn't teach in school, and from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Right now, correct wrong behaviors, not over to the wind, but kind of everything, thanks for your attention. Santa Sana, Imhotep.
You can't get any better history around here than from Imhotep. Another big round of applause for him, please. Being and to get a song by Young, Gifted, and Black, which Ben is going to do. We have our poetess Sylvia. The research claims her, everybody tries to claim Sylvia and her poetry, but we want to hear from her. Ben, do you have that song ready? Oh, okay. Sylvia. You know, there are some goodies available for our children here today. And also, I mentioned earlier that we have a raffle going on. A ticket's going to be given out, and also a pen from Hood Research. The research always has started being placed. We always have a raffle. And Sylvia is getting we have so many we want to let you know that the vendors will be coming next to do Say the song. Play the song out so that Sylvia can share her poetry with us.
We must begin to tell our young ones there's a world taking away. Yours is the quest that's just begun. When you feel
By applause, how many in this room know good research and feel good? How many in this room don't know good research and feel good about it? Okay, so there's one person over here in the corner. We have to take that one. Good research is 30 years old as of last year. Now we're in 2023. We'll be 31 years old in July. I tell you some more. Now we want to hear from Sylvia, the research poetess. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Again, I say and see, black skin color don't make them your sister or brother. Politics and religion do more to divide than give a damn about black lives. Gays, Asian, animals, and whites get more protection, liberty, rights to life. So what do they have in common? They do and will unite. The museum Child's Right appears to have been colonized. Black dollars need to use their God-given power and stop the takeovers, gatekeepers, and lies and the spies. Work on conquering your inheritance and greatness in your deserving lives. Thanks for listening. I'm Sligo Silverado. Continue executing real goals so your children can be whole and become powerful souls.
That is the one we go. Another one.
Okay, I got another one.
Go ahead.
It's called Muster Up. Muster up that faith that can kill the hate. Exercise empowering our families, friends, and communities by working together in unity. Work with our talents, innovation, motivation, positive information, and communication. Muster up that faith that knows the divine broke the mold when it was you he unfolded. You were already created by that which is powerful, divine, and great. Muster up and keep that faith.
All right. Sylvia. You can hear Sylvia on the conference call that Hood Research does on Saturdays. Also, you can hear her on 9 10. And she has the talent to just spit out poetry at an instance. And we really appreciate that. Thank you, she's available. There is a need for those in the African marketplace to come, take 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Come now. Now coming to the microphone now. As in the African marketplace, vendors are coming to sing. Lift every voice and sing. The vendors need to bring. Lift every voice and sing, serve as heaven. Ring with the harmony of day. Let our rejoicing rise high as the inside. Let it resound, loud as the road. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has brought. Sing a song full of the hope that the present brought. Facing the rising sun of a new day. Let us march on till victory is won. That was wonderful. That's Juneteenth of Michigan, Nyla. It's one of the competition. We appreciate you coming and sharing with us this afternoon. Okay. 2 minutes for each vendor, please. Yes. 2 minutes for each person. And we ask you to make an opportunity to learn what the vendors are offering. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Tian Bay, and I'm a parent of a Chrysler Elementary chess student. We are having a fundraiser so we can send the kids from state to state competing in chess, and they represent Detroit well. So we hope we can count on your support. We're selling t-shirts and bags.
All right. Next, 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. My name is Jacqueline Jones. I'm the owner and creator of Crystal Active Skin and Hair Care. I have exactly 33 organic products with no chemicals, and some of my products are for sale at the downtown Miners Farm. Now, I don't know if you all know, but it's very hard to get into marketplace, and especially big departmental stores or markets, period. And so with that being said, I'm in, but I got to stay in. In order to stay in, you gotta have still people coming and support you. So like we support everybody else, I'm asking that you all make it down to the downtown Miner store, 1475 East Avenue. The director of the store allowed about 40 Black businesses to get their products on the shelf. And just because they own the shelf, some of them they're taking off because they don't have the support of our own community, and everybody comes and support. So I'm begging you that if you're in the downtown Minor store, stop in. My products are on aisle 8 on the top shelf. Crystal Active, I have exactly 7 products in the store at this time, and there are other nice, when I tell you Black products there, please come out and support us. And I have a table here selling rich shea butter, a joint massage cream for any aches and pains in your body, a body moisturizer, 25 new shea butters, a hair thickening oil, a leave-in hair conditioning, hair protein. So come support. My name is Jacqueline Jones, President and CEO of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Praise God, everybody. At the time that I was out there with Spain and Nad and Theo Gordon back in the 90s, my name is Cheryl Watson. Now it's Cheryl Newton Clark. Okay? My product is paint, house paint. I paint houses, and I decided I've been painting about 14. My granddaddy was a builder in Birmingham, Alabama. So I decided to do my own paint product. I'm the only African American woman with paint product. My thing is about our people being healthy. So everything I do, including what I did here for 45 years, is about our health. If you don't have health, you don't have wealth. Okay? So my paint is non-VOC. It's made with ceramic spears in it. In the wintertime, it keeps your walls warm, and in the summer, it keeps your walls cool. The name of my company is Do Tech Paint Distribution. I also have my own aprons I designed painting. And so I'm looking for you guys. Do take paint. You go online. My number is 313-310-7742. I'm looking for my people to support my company. And just like Jackie said, we came out of the same ministry that taught us to become entrepreneurs. We already been entrepreneurs. But put our products in the stores, because it's time for us to become multi-millionaires and stop begging everybody else to show us the way. We are the way. We are the way. Like I shared with Malik Shabazz back in the day. All we gotta do is just do us. If we just stop and just do us, we've already arrived. In Jesus' name. We in church on Sunday, every church is full. But on Monday, where we at? We ain't in the community doing a doggone thing. I'm Reverend Cheryl Hughley. Do Tech Paint Distribution. 313-310-7742.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Monica Redmond, and my business is Gladiator Cooking. And my business, we sell teas, spices, seasonings, all for food, all for healthy bodies. The reason why I chose that business name is because I feel that we have to address our health as gladiators, strongly and firmly. I have that's called One Red. The purpose of this tea is to stimulate the body to health. For the men, it increases blood flow. I will repeat, it increases blood flow. For the women, it helps you lose weight and it helps you regenerate your system to control diabetes and things like that. So I'm at the table. Come and see me. We have great products for you, and we will take care of you with the excellence that you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
All right, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Lorenzo, but people call me affectionately so. I'm a neighborhood East Side farmer man. And I got a couple of my wares such in the front here, such as this homegrown, organically grown tobacco here, cultivated on the east side of Detroit. And to, as a people, reaffirm our relationships with certain things. And just because Philip Morris and the folks that make Newport 100s that got us in the chokehold disgraced this plant doesn't mean that this is a sacred and powerful plant. Now, what I have is not what they have. Because, you know, when a white man gets something, he want to twist and contort it in a way that just makes us all connected in a way that's a little addictive. And that's not what we got going on here. This is an ancestral process that goes back thousands of years for us. And it's been a beautiful process for me to get back into it. Like I said, I have the tobacco and other things from the garden that I cultivate, such as my elderberry wines. And I got into that around the time of COVID because people, you know, we was suffering, and elderberries fortifies our immune system. And I needed to put it in a particular formula that easy for us to take. And that's why we cultivated the wines and brews, because, you know, people, it's easy for us to, you know, crack something open and drink it. So, you know, I got a couple things if they come check me out. I appreciate you for your time and patience. Everybody, thank you all.
Thank you. Next. We have two vendors left. Three. Okay, next.
Very white, Junior, Ethiopia, Israel. Son of God, as everybody knows, he was more special in order to save his people from their sins. And at one point they asked him, which is the most important? First of all of the commandments, all of them. And he said, Mark 12:29. Hear, all Israel. Notice, he said the first of all commandments is, hear, all Israel. He did not say the whole world. He did not say all people. He says, hear, all Israel. The Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. So these Christian churches are, I hate to say it, but they have to be said. They're worshiping Satan, the devil, every Sunday. Every Sunday is a celebration and recognition and rise of Satan, the devil. So you all got to straighten that up, because the Lord said, the Son of God said, he was born especially to say this. The first of all commandments is, hear, all Israel. The Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Word Israel,
Next
in your
business.
heart,
Thank
you
you,
can
sir.
forget about heaven.
All right. Everybody has two minutes. Thank you.
Word Israel, in your heart, you can forget about heaven.
Almost about next.
Barigani. Peace and love, everyone. Mindful Beat, Anthony. Mindful Beat. Energy tools disguised as jewelry. I make handcrafted pieces. Everything you see on my table, I make myself. My hand, blood, sweat, tears, energy. And I work with many different metals, primarily copper. It's a superconductor, promotes circulation in the body. It's good for arthritis, carpal tunnel, any type of circulatory issues. And this is a note to be mindful of. It's one of the things we can use to promote circulation in the body. It also goes hand in hand with what we put in our minds, what we put in our bodies, et cetera, et cetera. So energy tools disguised as jewelry, different crystals, different, they come from the earth because Mother Earth is so abundant. We're not worshiping the stones. I feel like I have to say that. These are energy tools, just like magnets. We use them as tools. We pull magnets, we circulate energy from magnets and get lights, electricity. There's no different elements, different minerals come from different parts of the earth, different pressures, different depths, and have different properties. And so we use these as tools to augment our lives and enhance it. And I have many different specials going on. Today is the last day of my Kwanzaa special. Buy two, get one free. Rings, bracelets, necklaces, crowns, scepters, arm cuffs, lock rings, whatever you can think of. I can also handcraft you something on the spot and you'll have it before you leave. Mindful Beat, energy tools disguised as jewelry. Also do gemstone parties that you've been looking for, workshops, as well as fashion design. If there's any events that you feel like I should be at or be a part of, please let me know. On my table. Even if you just want some information, you get a free consultation at my table in person. And yes, let's make sure that we're tapping into all the ways that we can heal ourselves mentally, spiritually, and physically. Mindful Beat, that's my time. Peace and love.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. The time is wasted. We go into 5 o'clock.
Bargani. My name is Tahira Ahmed. I'm with the Black Legacy Coalition, but I'm also a crochet artist. I did my crown, I make dress skirts, I make bags, you name it, I make it, earrings to match, and necklaces and jewelry. I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and you can reach me through the Black Legacy Coalition. Stay black, everybody.
Next.
call everybody, but that's okay. Abragani. I just want to thank everybody for coming out to support the Kwanzaa. This is something that we do in Africa. I'm from Nigeria. So when I came here and I saw it, I said, oh, this is the place that I've been wanting. You know, it's just like a home. So it's a blessing to be part of it and to celebrate it every year. I bring food to the table because we believe that we plant our food from the scratch, nothing like fast food joint. You eat healthy to stay healthy. Some of the medication we have to take today we don't need. Some things we can eat fresh and stay healthy. So in my house, I plant my veggies and everything on my backyard. So if you want a house, put something on the ground and it can give us something, you know. And then I prepare African food, which is jollof rice, from everything fresh to finish. Then I do vegetable fried rice for people that don't eat meat, because meat is not really the best, but if you can, go ahead and eat it. So, and I did fufu, which you use your hand, which is my traditional food, with okra soup and egusi soup and ogbono soup and the rest of the soup. So I thank you for patronizing me the period that you are here, and I hope the same time this year we will celebrate it again. Peace.
Habaragani family. Habaragani. Okay, my name is Empress Zainabu Africa Turael, and I am a part of the Black Legacy Coalition. And I'm so honored and grateful that you all have blessed us with your presence. I'm also the curator of the fabulous marketplace out here. Can we give it up for the marketplace? My company is the Mali Link. Most of our things are directly from Mali, West Africa. All of our things are from Africa or made by African hands. We love for you all to bless us over at the table to take a look at some of our fine things that will frazzle, dazzle, and mesmerize you. Our things are authentic, one of a kind, or not many of a kind. We have fabrics, authentic fabrics. We have stones. We have natural skin, shea butter directly from the tree, soft like butter, sweet like coffee. We also have authentic artifacts, carvings. We have drums, djembe drums. We have oils and incense. Love for you all to come over and take a look and link up with the Mali Link. I thank you all for your time. I thank you for your presence. It's an honor and a privilege to be speaking before you all. I'm also a part, dual hats, also a part of the Black Legacy Coalition. I'm on the committee that organized this fantastic, majestic, miraculous event. Can we give it up for 7 days in Detroit? Kwanzaa 22 has been phenomenal. And we took a stance on an issue. And now let me set the record straight. There's an issue.
Excuse me. We only have from 3 until 5. And we have a raffle, and there's some gifts that are going to be given out to the children. Michelle, would you come to the microphone? If there's anyone who has not received a raffle ticket, you can get a raffle ticket now. Anybody who needs to get your raffle ticket. That's just a deal.
Okay. Thank you all. Habaragani.
Now, for those of you who want to be a part of the Black Legacy Coalition, need to see her at her table in the African marketplace. She told us that we have to go, and once the raffle is over, Tyrone Allen is going to speak on behalf of Reverend Charles Williams. Michelle. Okay, one more person. Everybody have their ruffles? Okay. All right. I am saddened that the Dr. Charles Wright Museum is no longer referred to as Dr. Charles Wright, a man who filled his basement with historical artifacts. When the basement was overflowing, he then got a trailer and put it on the side of his home. When that was overflowing, he had a building on John R. He caught the eye and the ear of Mayor Coleman Alexander Young, who worked with Harold Varner, an architect, and his partner. And they built the beautiful Dr. Charles Wright Museum on East Warren that we see today. And we have had the Kwanzaa programs there for years. And I believe that it's a good thing for it to be throughout the community, but not at the expense of our ability to be in our museum on East Warren. 144, 105, 144, 105. Last we know it's 105. The Black Legacy Coalition is still working to help the museum management understand that they should have this program every year for 7 days. And if you believe that it was the employees who didn't want to work that week, then you believe that it's the inmates trying to run the asylum. 082, 144082. Anybody have 082, 082? Check your tickets for 082, and it's for membership to the Museum of Dr. Charles Wright. Okay. No. 082. Your name? Naomi Dozer is the winner of the membership of Charles Wright Museum of African American History. We are going to give out 10. And the reason we're giving out membership to the museum, number one, is our museum. Number two, the membership should be increased by all means necessary. And this is the first. 144, 162, 162. 144, 162. 144, 162. Charles McFarland is the next winner of membership to the Charles Wright Museum of African American History.
What you just fall asleep? Tell her your name. Yeah.
Oh, my name is Obana Beeman.
Obana Beeman, and you won a membership to the Dr. Charles Wright Museum of African American History. All right. Okay.
144.
144, 119. 144, 119. 144, 119. Those who are winners, we need your name and your phone number. Lainey Crutcher is the next winner. All right. She got a membership to the Dr. Charles Wright Museum of African American History. That's the person. Okay. 144104. How did you end up with 2 tickets? Oh. How many children do you have? Are they your children? This is a serious question. It's a man. Is your father?
What's his name?
I don't know his name. Baba Kabugo. Is he on this table? Okay. How many in the family?
Me and him today.
No. You mean tomorrow it changes? Okay. I'm asking 144110. I'll give you a family membership, sir. 144110. One 114 110. One 117. 117. 117. The last 2 numbers. 117. Aminata Saul is our next winner. Okay. All right. 112. 144 112. 112. Anybody have 112? 112. Check your tickets. 112. Yeah. 112. Check your tickets. 112. Adrian Hunt is the next winner today. Adrian Hunt. She's number 7. Adrian Hunt. 109, 144, 109, 109, 109. You don't even have to stand in line. 109. 109, 109. So it's not watching. 254, 254, 144, 254. 254, 254.
I had about 3 with me. I got still 1 more.
Ahila Rozier is a winner. All right. Has anyone checked their tickets to see if they're 254? Are they out the door? 254, are you out the door? 254, 254, are you out the door? 163, 163. Yeah, come on down and see me. 163. What's this for your name? Brenda McFarland. Brenda McFarland is a winner. Yeah. Twist it, yeah. 106. 106. 144. 106. 144. 106. Okay. Anybody have 106? 106 is not responding. 106 is not responding. So, here's a 106. What's your name? Oh, okay. We need. Shakesha Monroe. Shakesha Monroe. Oh, we need her phone number. Miss Monroe. Okay. Naomi, we don't have your phone number, so you can get your membership card. Obama Beeman and Naomi. Obama. No. Obama. We need your phone number. Make arrangements for your membership. Okay, we need a phone number. Tyrone Allen. Yes, we want the children to come and choose their gift. Okay. There are gifts for the children, gifts for the children. Okay. Children, go by the black curtain so that you can choose your gift. All children, gift time, gift time. Tyrone Allen, Tyrone. I was like, here is Tyrone Allen. Thank you all. Good research have enjoyed presenting the Kwanzaa program today. And thank you for coming so much and showing the importance of Kwanzaa and the Kwanzaa principles. Please, you can find us on the evening.
Let us give Mr. Theo a round of applause for the presentation. I stand for my pastor, who's the pastor of this church, Reverend Charles Williams. My name, if you don't already know, I'm a deacon here at the church. Unfortunately, my pastor had a patient that had already been planned. That's exactly why he wasn't here tonight. He arrived back last night. He came in on a night flight. He got up this morning. He came to conduct the church service. He baptized. He did the communion. By the time he got home, he was, jet lagged when he kicked in. But on behalf of my pastor, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that came out and supported this thing. And my pastor, he's just overly elated as a way to let something down. So if we fell short in any way, charge it to our heads, not our hearts. Because our hearts were definitely in the right place. Most of the staff that's here are here on a voluntary basis. You don't get paid for anything you do here. And so I seek the labor of love. And also, my pastor said that he would look forward to any time in the future if this coalition needed us again. So with that, I bid you good.
Rambe.
Okay.
All right, y'all, we're gonna pull together. Harambe, 7 off. We're gonna bring, okay, let me step over here. I need that feedback. All right, y'all, 7 Harambe. On 1, 2, 3. Harambe, 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 Harambe. With research, you always doing right. Provocative here. All right, so bring it out.
Oh my goodness. I know. But I have to.